The motion before the House this evening is this House will go on reality TV. Thank you so much for coming. We realise the dissertations and midterms are looming above us all, but we'll have a very fun debate tonight. Now, reality TV, ever since American Family in 1973, it has dominated our TV channels. From I'm a Celeb, Big Brother, Celebrity X, we have had some very iconic moments and some very entertaining moments, especially in UK reality TV, from what is Sad Little Life Jane with Come Dine With Me to Mary Berry's Soggy Bottom. But tonight, we are not asking whether we're sitting back and just merely observing reality TV. We are asking whether we should climb into the little black box itself and join reality TV and go on. So, with enough waffle out of the way, I would love to introduce our first speaker for the proposition, Beatrix Fuchs, a second-year history of art student at the University of Edinburgh. Oh my God, sorry, I can't remember this. I'm glad that this isn't reality TV. We'll have to cut that out. I'd like to introduce the first speaker for the proposition, Tara Lays, a second-year history of robotics student. Oh my God, history of robotics student at the University of Edinburgh. You have 10 minutes. The floor is yours.
So growing up, I was not allowed to watch reality TV because my French mom considered it would damage my brain. However, I personally never judged the people on it, but rather the object of it. Because the stigma around reality TV comes from the same people who enjoy this multi-billion-pound sector of the entertainment economy. So we shouldn't shame the participant, but the hypocrisy of a culture that consumes the product, funds the industry, quotes the catchphrases, follows the contestants, and then pretends moral superiority over the people who made it possible. As a history and politics student, being in reality TV isn't my first choice of career, but who knows? And no, for everyone who thinks that, I wouldn't go for my insanely good looks or for attention seeking, but for the economic opportunities that come from it. The motion is not, would everyone recklessly chase fame? This is whether a rational, informed individual would strategically participate in reality television as an economic and social opportunity. We should treat reality TV as an industry and not as a joke. My main argument, and my first one, is that reality TV should be seen as for its economic mobility. We live in a stagnant wage economy, graduate salaries are flat, rents are rising, and traditional pathways to wealth require years of unpaid internship and spring weeks. At the same time, we live in an attention economy where visibility is monetizable capital. Reality TV is one of the lowest barrier, high upside markets available to young people today. It requires no elite degree, no inherited capital, no industry connections. You do not need years of unpaid internship or postgraduate debt. The entry threshold is remarkably low compared to the traditional professional pathways. And yet, the upside is enormous. Brand deals, sponsorship, influencer income, business launches, media contracts. In some cases, a single season can generate financial returns that significantly exceed many graduate starting salaries. When we compare this to law, finance, or academia, the contrast is stark. Those paths demands years of sunk cost with no guarantee of security. Reality TV compresses opportunity into weeks. It is a high-risk gamble, yes, but it is also high reward. In a generation facing declining social mobility, refusing to consider this is seriously a luxurious belief. My second argument is that the visibility that comes from reality TV leads to economic capital. We live in a digital economy where attention equals currency. We already monetize ourselves on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and reality TV solely accelerates this through audience acquisition. The opposition would probably romanticize privacy, but economic systems are already demanding self-branding. In that way, one of the strongest reasons to go on reality television is that it functions as an accelerator of visibility, and in the modern economy we are, visibility is monetizable power. Take Kim Kardashian, for instance. Whatever one thinks of the origin of her fame, what is undeniable is the economic sophistication with which she converted visibility into an empire. She gave us skins, she created her own legal advocacy and institutional access. The lesson is not that everyone becomes a billionaire, the lesson is that exposure can be converted into a diversified set of revenues streams when managed strategically. This is not confined to entertainment. Consider Nigel Farage and his appearance on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Regardless of his political views, the economic effect was clear. He reportedly received a substantial fee, significantly expanded his public profile beyond political audiences and repositioned himself culturally. Reality TV allowed him to humanize himself. Similarly, contestants from The Traitors have leveraged that participation into podcast deals, television appearances, book contracts, and influencer careers. And many of them were probably had unknown professional careers, such as some were civil servants, nurses, or analysts. We can go further. Cardi B gained mainstream recognition through Love and Hip Hop. Jamie Lang from Made in Chelsea created his own candy business. Molly May, after Love Island, has a launchpad into creative director roles and multi-million-pound brand partnerships. The economic pattern is consistent. Rapid audience acquisition, monetization through endorsement or ventures, and the diversification into media, business, or politics. Reality TV compresses the timeline of ground building. What might take years organically can happen in 1 or 2 weeks, or maybe just a season of a show. The opposition may argue that these are exceptional cases, but all jobs in this market function through asymmetric success. We do not criticize startups because not all becomes unicorns. We evaluate the risk-rewards ratio. And my third argument is the democratization of access and the spotlight of talent. When you watch reality TV, most of the time you are not only watching a dating show, you are watching real-life people showing themselves in TV for millions of people. This then flows this economic idea to structure. Reality TV redistributes visibility away from traditional gatekeepers. This is why another reason this house would go on reality TV is that it is one of the most powerful modern mechanisms for spotlighting talent. We often speak as if reality television is just superficial. It is not. A huge proportion of reality format is structured explicitly around talent discovery. Look at the X Factor. It launched the careers of so many global artists. One Direction was formed on that stage. Little Mix won the competition and became one of Britain's most successful girl groups. These were not industry insiders with private connection. They were young people who had a dream and whose talent was amplified by a mass platform. Look at Britain's Got Talent. It has spotlighted opera singers, dancers, magician, comedian, people who might have never had access to elite conservatories or professional network. Susan Boyle, for instance, became an international sensation almost overnight because of a televised stage that allowed her voice to bypass these traditional gatekeepers. If we also take MasterChef and the British Bake Off, these shows have transformed amateur cooks into cookbook authors, restaurant owners, and respected culinary figures. Talent that was once local or domestic is now globally visible. For instance, with my friends in my flat, we started our own Come Dine With Me, and I've never tasted better food. Even outside explicitly talent format, shows like RuPaul's Drag Race have platform performers whose artistry previously existed in marginalized subcultures. It turned drag into a mainstream, economically visible career path. The broader point is this: reality TV lowers the barrier between raw talent and mass audience. Historically, access to stage was controlled by record labels, race, gender, publishing houses, or elite institutions. Reality TV disrupts that pipeline. It allows ability, such as singing, cooking, dancing, performance, and personality, to be shown to the bigger world and to compete in front of millions. Finally, one of the biggest points I would like to rebuttal is that a lot of people consider that embarrassment is what we should put reality TV for shame, but I think it's what makes it its biggest strength. You have people here on screen making themselves vulnerable for all of our eyes, deciding either to show talent, to have a fight with an ex-boyfriend on screen for everyone to see. But this embarrassment is social construct and is often class-coded. What is deemed cringe is frequently what threatens traditional hierarchies. And that's where reality TV is often dismissed because its also primary audience is young women. And cultural products enjoyed by women are historically trivialized. Criticizing reality TV often disguises class prejudice. Also, when you watch reality TV shows, especially when you take the local scale in Great Britain, I'm not from there. It's where I learned of so many, I got a chance to hear so many different accents, hear of so many different boroughs or shires that I have never heard about. A second rebuttal is that a lot of people would say you might fail by taking upon these challenges. But so might a startup, so might a postgraduate degree, so might a job application or internship application, and I know you all lived that. Risk is not unique to reality television. And here's a fundamental shift. Fame today is not vanity, it is infrastructure. We all live shame every day, and I feel like we should respect more the people who actually will show this shame on a screen, on a TV, or on YouTube. So bringing in the idea of this attention economy, where followers becomes this negotiating leverage and recognition equals opportunity. Even temporary fame can convert into network, access, and capital. So the rational question is not, is it vilified? The rational question is it strategically advantageous? This house would go on reality TV not because we're shallow, but because we are economically literate, because we understand that culture is power, because we understand that visibility is currency, and in a world structured by attention, it would be irrational not to consider the fastest route to acquiring it. Thank you very much.
I would like to welcome the first speaker to the opposition, Beatrice Cruz, the second year history art student at the University of Edinburgh. You have 10 minutes, and the floor is yours.
The purpose of reality television is, in its essence, it is meant to present viewers with reality, depicting unscripted interactions of real people with their personal relationships and experiences. Such shows are typically broadcasters during weekdays and evenings, where individuals return from home and want to something easy to watch and to wind down their busy days. Ironically, in its practice, this form of media has increasingly developed in scripted screen performances performed by amateur actors who present a facade of reality. What I intend to present to you this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is the truth behind reality television. Reality television is ultimately degrading your mind, not only because it's elaborate and unrealistic themes, but also for its exploitation of the performance and its negative impact on the viewers. As respectful attendees of this union, I acknowledge that while some of you indulge in reality television, you naturally do not want to reciprocate the negligent comments of Love Island or the malicious acts of the Kardashians. But why, I ask you, does one feels so entranced watching such wicked media? Perhaps it is the drama that is so outrageous and so exaggerated that it becomes addictive, that we become so fascinated by these personalities that we almost live through them. I feel it's a bit of a crime to use Immanuel Kant in relation to this context, but his definition of the sublime really encapsulates this overwhelming addiction to this form of media. Kant envisions the sublime as a profound sense of wonder and awe that subsequently empowers us by revealing the greatness of our rational minds. Like the sublime, reality television is an aesthetic experience that is perceptively enjoyed for our own sake and is consequently a form of the sublime, where the profound sense of wonder is achieved through the captivation of these outrageous and most artificial characters. Thinking back to the Kardashians, on one episode, the siblings addressed Chloe's OCD by throwing food across the lunch table, resulting in a food fight. Chloe herself acknowledges that this isn't any normal person's world, and that's the thing. No one in their right mind would have a food fight, but it's the awe in this ridiculous action of others that we live their experience subliminally. Like a freak show, we are captivated by the oddities of other people's lives, and in our curiosity, we can't help but watch. But what needs to be considered is the fact that reality television is influencing us as the viewers for the worse. You all know the well-known phrase, "we are what we eat," but when considering this in the new age of media consumption, we are becoming more what we watch. During the early 1980s, such an idea was elaborated upon, resulting in the concept of media priming hypothesis. Developed from the cognitive psychological concept priming, consisting of activation of memory instructions, media priming is the process where exposure to the prime, that being media content, influences one's subsequent thoughts, judgments, and behaviours. You may be unaware of this, but we all lay victim to this hypothesis. Politicians do it, the news does it, reality...
Point of information.
Why not?
Who is to decide what is sublime? Who's to say that reality television isn't good for you? Isn't that just Kant posing some abstract kind of reality, this abstract ideal of what we should watch?
A very interesting point made, I must say. I think reality TV, it is something in terms of pursuing in that mind, it's something subjective. You are told not to consume too many sweets because it's bad for you, like
That's subjective.
Thank you.
If it's okay, I will continue with my speech. Where was I? Within many forms of reality television, types such as makeover and competition are particular examples where media priming is most prevalent. For instance, Love Island has previously been subjected to controversy of perfect bodies and features, where individuals have previously undergone surgically enhanced procedures presenting unrealistic ideals of beauty. In 2019, a study by the Mental Health Foundation found that 1 in 4 people aged 18 to 24 say that reality television made them worried about their body image. What is noticeable, demographic shows such as Love Island are usually young adults, with many being impacted by the Love Island effect, where the demand for cosmetic procedures such as Botox and fillers is driven by more viewers wanting to emulate and enhance beauty of these Love Island contestants. Thus, the Love Island effect can be correlated with this idea of media priming due to the show's continuous representation of specific images and behaviours that prime its viewers' demographic of young adults to adopt, often subconsciously, these traits as the new norm of beauty, relationships and lifestyles. For the performer, on the other hand, reality television is no better. After being on Geordie Shore, Sarah Goodhart accused the reality television industry of being corrupt. What drove her to be part of the show originally was opportunity of wealth and fame, something that a lot of performers fall a victim to. However, she identified that this was quite the opposite. Reflecting in an article from BBC News, she found herself plunged into debt and mental damage after filming. In the same article, behavioural psychologist Jo Holmes, who worked on many shows offering emotional support for contestants, criticised the industry's lack of aftercare for the participants. It is clear that for the enjoyment of the viewers, performers sacrifice themselves emotionally, physically and sometimes economically in order to achieve their 15 minutes of fame. Such an idea is explored by scholar Alison Kernan in 2010, who highlighted the link between reality television and immaterial labour, arguing that reality television performers contribute to the production of an immaterial product, that being television programme. What these participants do on reality television are both acts of performance and actual labour, as Jacob Hannison describes, contribute to the profit harvest by production companies and television channels. Because of the mass demand for reality television production, the industry responds to it by creating shows relatively cheap, performed by ordinary people. Such ordinary people, Johannesson identified, are usually non-professional actors, promising them quick fame, allowing their producers to modify their emotional and personal intimate lives of themselves, as well as depriving them of ownership of their mediated image. Whilst the industrial exploitation is not understood in the traditional sense of wage labour, such as Marx, for instance, it can be understood in the terms of effective and alienating labour, one that has just as damaging and contributes to the toxicity of the reality television industry. With the whole aspect of reality television revolving around the idea of being able to live through another person's life, sort of via media consumption, it does pose its attractiveness. With all the discussed aspects of reality television that makes it so addictive, it presents us a new normal, suggesting how we should act in our own lives. The Trace tells us that we should not trust those close to us. Dating naked tells us to think more about our bodies. Four in the bed tells us that it's the correct way to clean a loo. But nevertheless, should we not be worried that these overconsumption of media could result in our inability to truly think for ourselves? J.S. Mills, again, I think I really wouldn't want to use in this context, but here we are, presents the ways of thinking in which correlation can be found in understanding his concerns with liberty of thought and action. Mill acknowledges that man is an individual and a man will be based on the condition we live in, just like how we are susceptible to the trends and tendencies of reality television. Instead of treating themes and personalities of reality television as the right way we should think, it should be conceded that it is more desirable for people to exercise their own way of thinking, rather than being blinded and simply mechanical and adhesive to custom. Adopting Mills's perception of liberty, our understanding of what should be our own, to prevent society becoming brain-dead and autonomous way of thinking and acting. Ultimately, reality television is not contributing anything to our society. Like many forms of media, consumption in our modern-day society, its purpose is to provide a sublime escapism to the viewers, nothing more. Reality television presents us with a distorted reality that manipulates its viewers with harmful, unrealistic imagery and stories. I would hope that we can remain with dignity, sanity and sense, and not choose to sell yourself to the devil that is reality television industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. And now, moving on, I'm delighted to welcome the second speaker for the proposition, Laura Edmonds, a secondary sustainable development for the politics student at the University of Edinburgh. Laura, you have 10 minutes, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me this evening. It's been a pleasure to hear our wonderful speakers so far. I'm going to begin with the famous cliche of every reality TV show. I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to win. That is to win you over that reality TV is not only a superficial and humorous depiction of our lifestyle, but so much more. No one, and especially not me, is going to stand up here and tell you that reality TV stars are the most valuable members of our society, nor that going on reality TV should be the epitome of your life ambition. I mean, if you want me, but... But there is something to say for the positive impact reality TV has had on our society, lifestyle, and politics in the decades since it rose to popularity. I will first explore the themes of transparency and representation. How is reality TV's relatability that makes it so powerful in combating stereotypes? Later, I'll discuss how reality TV shows can help shape societal behaviours for the better, with the help of social media's rising influence. Whether it be Project Runway, Love Island, Big Brother, I'm sure almost all of you have had the pleasure of watching a few episodes to pass the time. These shows may seem surface level, only aiming to bring about a few chuckles, but since the 90s, they have confronted issues relevant to every single one of us in this room. Be it sexism, LGBTQIA+ rights, or stigma for chronic health conditions, a reality TV episode has discussed it. It might only be a 5-minute scene, but when the episode is watched by millions across the world, its impact cannot go unquestioned. In the 1993 aired show, The Real World, contestant Pedro Zamora became globally recognized for humanizing people with HIV for an entire generation. At a time when HIV was heavily stigmatized, his activism, personal stories, and emotional confessions as an openly gay and HIV-positive 22-year-old were immediately impactful. Open conversations, transparency in our personal problems, and mutual respect being displayed on a big screen inspires replication in our views and relationships. These scenes have shaped our own unique attitudes towards these issues by breaking down stereotypes. They educate us, they represent us, and they normalize us. In almost every recent season of RuPaul's Drag Race, at least one contestant has introduced themselves as having watched it growing up, feeling seen and represented. Stating their drive to start their own career and sign up for the show themselves stemmed from seeing like-minded people in previous seasons. The winner of Big Brother 2006, Pete Bennett, didn't shy away from discussing his experience with Tourette syndrome. So when disability awareness and representation in almost every sector is lacking, reality TV shows have an opportunity to step up and initiate change in a way that millions want to engage with. Reality TV shows do more than show visual representation. Participants are able to speak up and share their own stories in a way that traditional television simply cannot achieve. As university students, likely Generation Z students, our education is more than the readings we cram at 11 p.m. on Sunday night, but it's the episodes we watch and the tweets we read when we're supposed to be cramming at 11 p.m. on Sunday night. To dismiss reality TV as purely superficial would be to deprive us from another context in which to understand socio-political issues, a context that cannot be replicated in academic articles or Hollywood blockbusters. I cannot debate reality TV without discussing the money in it. Be it stars emerging from them or celebrities trying to capitalize off of them, these shows generate enormous volumes of wealth for its contestants. Celebrity reality shows in particular, such as Celebrity Traitors or I'm a Celeb, Get Me Out of Here, are an opportunity for stars to display their philanthropic edge. Celebrity Traitors donates the final pearl to the winner's chosen charity, meaning in 2025 season, winnings went to Alan Carr's chosen children's cancer charity, New Blessing in the UK. Yet another example of reality TV shows doing more for the ordinary person than we might ever expect. Of course, reality TV shows and individual stars face enormous backlash. This backlash, though, is what makes this type of TV so notable. Former Health Secretary Matt Hancock donated less than 5% of his £300,000 earnings from I'm a Celeb to charity, which certainly didn't do anything to better his already quite poor image. Tyra Banks has faced repeated online controversy after challenges comprising of body shaming, racial insensitivity, and humiliation, which shows on America's Next Top Model across the season's air. The way the public respond to these shows, who their favourite contestants are, and the way the online media responds, all mirror the changing norms in our society. These attitudes are powerful and can be used to push for a move away from unacceptable and insensitive behaviours that are now in the public eye. Inappropriate comments and disrespectful jokes can no longer be passed under the rug. Social media spotlights them in seconds, garnering thousands of comments debating the extent of their impact. Though perhaps harsh, the opportunity of it is in redirecting media to reflect the inclusive, positive expectations we want perpetuated, ending derogatory banter and instilling accountability into television in real time. There is a lot to be learned about the advantages of reality TV that are amplified when put in combination with social media. If anything, social media has only grown the power that reality TV shows have, expanding their viewer bases and enforcing responsibility into their production. Though there are controversies today, as there were 30 years ago, they are highlighted and often corrected faster than ever before. The ability that reality TV producers and contestants have now to respond to public opinion has grown tremendously since the debut of reality TV as a genre. This means the impact it can have as a genre has grown tremendously as well. Introspectively, these controversies that emerge from reality TV shows create conversations that further challenge stigma in our own personal communities. We sit on the sofa and we ask ourselves and our family members, maybe our friends, what would you do in that situation? Do I agree with that comment? Was that joke really funny? Both on screen and off, reality TV shows allow us to question our behaviour along with that of our social circles. Reality television often displays behaviour that may go unnoticed if experienced around us. Difficult to perceive in the same way. But once these behaviours are highlighted on shows like The Bachelor, it may help people to highlight them in their own lives. Regarding participating in it yourself, reality TV is an opportunity for you to talk openly and honestly about issues that are important to you, to a near limitless audience. If you consider applying to participate in one of these shows, you don't have to fill the stereotype of an arrogant narcissist when you're looking to grow their Instagram following. In fact, if you did, you would miss the point of them entirely. You should apply to be in reality TV to speak for yourself, but also for the slight chance that you'll be made rich and famous and have to donate money to charity. But also for your family and friends that might otherwise not be heard. But most of all, you should become a contestant to push for the social standards you believe in, and to be a part of the changes you want to see in media. To summarise my arguments, I want to return to the focal point of how reality TV is not merely a comedic platform, but an opportunity to represent and shape the attitudes of the public on immensely important issues. Representation, discussion, and inspiration are words you should associate more readily with reality TV. Social media has expanded the impact of reality TV, further guiding it into a direction that's agreeable and accessible to all, placing consequences to unacceptable behaviour in real time. Regardless of if you're a prospective contestant or an avid fan, the advantages of interacting with reality TV in any capacity can be seen. I hope to have convinced you that reality TV is more impactful than perceived, and perhaps influence you to consider signing up for one yourself. Thank you.
And now I would like to welcome the second speaker for the opposition, Nikita Matthews, a fourth-year history of art student at the University of Edinburgh. Nikita, you have 10 minutes, and the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. William Shakespeare, as you like it. There are three facets to my line of argument to oppose this motion. The first is more historical. I will seek to explain the social stage from which reality TV emerges and compare it against historical precedents outlined in Richard Sennett's work, The Fall of Public Man. Secondly, I seek to tackle the reality aspect of reality TV. For this, I will draw upon my own experience working for a commissioning company called My Smash Media, where I process reality TV submissions for Channel 5. Finally, I will go into the techniques of influence that can be used to create the drama that draws audiences so effectively. Ultimately, my argument hinges on the erosion of the boundary between public and private human behavior. How little we now experience or are aware of our performance within the public, and how in our private lives we are constantly searching within ourselves for a metric with which to judge the authenticity of an emotion. Part 1, the tyranny of intimacy. All the world's a stage. In 1749, Henry Fielding spoke of London as having become a society where stage and street are literally intermixed. The world as a theatre, he said, was no longer a metaphor. Coffee houses, salons, and the promenade were coming into fashion. There was a distinct performative element to one's appearance in public as opposed to one's private life. It was impossible to tell the difference in outward appearance between those performing on stage at Drury Lane and the members of the audience. The cosmopolitan metropolis became the arena in which strangers interact and civic life unfolds, and one could divorce one's nature from one's act. A shift occurred in the 19th century. Victorian values instilled the concept of the nuclear family, and hence the values of the private began to supersede the public. Localization became once more the dominant form of existence. When each person's self becomes their principal burden, to know oneself becomes an end, instead of a means through which one knows the world. And precisely because we are so self-absorbed, it's extremely difficult for us to arrive at a private principle, to give any clear account of ourselves or to others of what our personalities are. The reason for this is that the more privatized the psyche, the less it is stimulated, and the more difficult it is for us to feel or express feeling. Modern society has therefore internalized social meanings. Social values and connection are perceived as arising from inner feelings rather than from public engagement with others. As the public sphere declines, social life becomes mediated through private reflection and internal psychology, which parallels how virtual interactions replace real public encounters. Reality TV isn't just entertainment. It exploits the same cultural condition that Sennett diagnoses: the substitution of public life with mediated spectacle. Its pervasiveness reveals less about democratic engagement and more about a public that has been socialized to consume relations as performance rather than participate in meaningful public exchange. To quote Sennett, the spectacle has become a means of social control, a way to manage the individual's relationship to the public. of the self that used to be manufactured for the public effectively ceases to develop. We can live out our lives in isolation, living vicariously through the drama unfolding on screen. And in each flickering moment we try to see, and fail to find a part of ourselves in what is unfolding. Reality TV creates the illusion of social engagement, and often it is a deeply toxic one because of the very nature of how it is created. Production. Reality TV falls into the broad industry category known as unscripted. It is categorized by low-cost, high-reward media that fill scheduling gaps on mainstream television. Globally, unscripted content makes up 75% of TV commissions. So what makes it so entertaining? The drama. Whatever that word means. Enhanced by a lot of editing techniques. Unscripted also refers to documentaries. But what makes reality TV different to documentaries? The drama. It's actually delineated to when post-production assembly begins. For reality TV specifically, there exists a role called a story producer, who are essentially heavily adjacent to editors. Their job is to write with footage, to navigate through the material and plot story arcs for the talent. They get involved from a very early stage, and what arcs they decide are worthwhile, the camera crew will pursue. First of all, casting is essential.
Are you saying that Global Box is totally unscripted?
No, I'm saying that in fact it is extremely scripted. I'm about to get onto that in a second. I'll answer it in the next minute. Casting is essential. Producers have to cast the show with one element in mind: friction. Every participant is chosen because they perform a specific role for the group dynamic that is being manufactured in the show. These generally tend to fall to stock character types: the underdog, the alpha, the villain, the comic relief, the heartthrob, the fish out of water, and the hot mess. Architecture also plays a very big role in how game shows influence the behavior of their participants. The main way shows can influence this is juxtaposing privacy and isolation with a forced social setting. Most shows have a large communal space where all the participants have to discuss together various issues that have arisen over the course of the show. This communal environment often plays on the concept I began with: individuals responding differently in private and public. Seeing the talent's reactions in a one-on-one interview is a key element of exposing a character's true motivations once they do not demonstrate to the wider group. Here you have the face-to-camera confessions that can be intercut and edited cleverly for more impact. This is a very straightforward method of visually displaying a character's two-facedness, as well as a foreshadowing device. Producers also have the ability to step in to influence the course of the show. This has to be done cleverly, however, because the cameras never stop. A well-known technique is to give the talent an idea or a topic to raise during a mic battery change. Another technique is to brief a cast member on who to talk to in each scene, controlling their entrances and exits during particular moments of tension. Also, never forget directors and their power either. On reflection, it's quite terrifying. I spent a month performing with an ensemble, and good directors have endless techniques with which to develop chemistry. My two directors at the time succeeded in breaking down the idea of the individual within me and reformed it into the collective. They can do a range of exercises to develop intimacy, giving characters objectives and scenes, create cliques, generate alliances. Basically, the human mind is incredibly susceptible to suggestion, especially when it is in foreign territory and doesn't know how to behave. However, at the very crux of it all, in the edit, the manipulation is centered around the shifting dichotomy of public and private. By shifting the setting in which the characters are seen, the producers of the show have the most control over how the characters portrayed in the final product. It is that voyeurism that that develops drama, and that which mimics our own perceptions of our searches for identity. Reality TV has a destructive power projection. It instills that the public world is full of stock characters, and we, the viewer, are special. Because in the modern day, we are comparatively so badly versed in the performance of the public sphere, we've lost the knack of separating who one is from how one acts. We live in a society where public engagement has been eroded by individualism. A society where we focus on our own personality over communal roles, and people crave visibility, but without genuine participation. Reality TV thrives because it gives the promise of visibility and identity without accountability. A stage where social life is consumed as a spectacle rather than shared civic experience. From the comfort of your sofa, you can get that fixed drama you as a human being are hardwired to crave. It is a pallid imitation of real life, packaged for entertainment, that skews our relationship and our very concept of the self. Thank you very much.
Time, well, I ask you all to think about what you would potentially like to say on this motion, as we'll be having floor speeches from the audience. If anyone wants to speak, please just raise your hand in the next section and the microphone will find your way to you. 5 minutes, guys, and we'll be back. Thank you very much.
No, you really need to film later and quickly go. And then we'll like, and zoom in a lot.
That's more than fair.
Well, I'm a videographer again. I have a question/proposition for both parties. Have either of the parties thought or considered that going on a reality TV show is just kind of fun? What does joy have to be a part of not going or not going on reality television? That's it.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the motion? Yes, in front here.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. But actually, you guys have pretty much all heard this, and also so has anyone who actually knows me. So I'm just going to turn this way because this is perfect. But anyway, basically, this is getting too philosophical for me. I just spent a week stressing over my philosophy essay, so I can't with that anymore. Basically, I'm going to make the two arguments that I think most of you guys relate to. One is which I have no money. I have £3 in my bank account. The other day, I got a jury duty summons, which was really, really funny because I was like, oh my gosh, guys, extensions on my essay. But really, my mind immediately went to was that show, Jury Duty, on Amazon. I was like, guys, I could be the next guy who gets like totally taken advantage of by a group of actors. But really what I wanted was the fact that he walked away with like $100,000. And I need that because I have EPU ball tickets to pay for, so do all of you, by the way. And then second one, the Huzz. I've had it with Edinburgh dating. Hinge has lied to me. Why is everyone ugly? It is time to go somewhere warm for the summer, where it's like there's lots of hotties who's been glammed up by like a makeup team to make them even more hot, and it's like warm enough to the point where like everyone has to like show a little skin instead of like coats. Like, what is this? Why do I live here? Anyway, that's all for me.
I was just thinking about that there's potentially been a lot of talk about the social benefits or evils that arise from reality TV, but how do you get from that to the jump of you personally deciding to go on it? For both sides.
Comes to the fourth question, which is if you were invited to go on a debating show titled Bad Debate, would you go on it? Not because this is a bad debate. But of course because it's some sort of commentary on how far you go to humiliate yourself on reality TV.
I just had a question about using reality telly as a sort of platform to raise awareness about certain issues. If there is truly an issue that you would like to raise attention to, in my mind, more power to you. But in my mind, is reality telly the best way of doing that instead of going out and being, let's say, a mental health campaigner and achieving actual progress rather than sparking arbitrary conversations online?
I'd like to raise a point that as reality TV shows become more sort of iconic, I think you get a sense that a lot of people go on just for the experience. For example, I would love to go to the Traitors Castle, you have no idea. But I'm thinking, I guess this is maybe more applicable to celebrity shows, things like Strictly Come Dancing, where it's a sign of having made it in your career if you make it on. Do you think there is some merit to going on to reality TV just for the experience, and can you separate that from the sort of perception you get from the outlets?
Just the last two hands, just the person over there, and then we'll go to you.
Hi, so this is more directed towards the opposition and the proposition, but I believe that in one speech you said that certain TV shows such as like Traitors taught you to like betray your friends, while a lot of them taught unrealistic body expectations, and this just seems odd to me. It's like saying that Grand Theft Auto will teach you to like rob cars and kill people. It's basic media literacy to know that like these shows aren't actual reality despite the name suggesting so, that they're actually scripted, and you should be able to, if you're going to watch these TV shows, distinguish between these shows that are set up in this manner with a purpose goal, which is to betray your friends in this case, and the fact that you probably shouldn't be doing that in everyday life.
Good evening. I'd just like to ask if either or both sides consider what you would consider, I suppose, the most realistic trade-off in which side most benefits for whether minority groups can not both be highlighted on reality TV shows, but so too can they be more heavily persecuted, which is quite heavily seen, particularly with women on dating shows. As I have no doubt many people know that there are various shows that have allegations of things like assault, and so what your considerations on that would be.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all of those short speeches. I'm now delighted to welcome the third speaker for the proposition, Theobald Duckett, a history and politics student at the University of Edinburgh. Theobald, you have 10 minutes. The floor is yours.
Right, I'm just going to set the record straight. It's T-Bug. Sorry, Finn. Right, let's have some fun. I think someone said they wanted some more fun, so let's have some. So thank you, Mr. President, for letting me speak today. But most of all, thank you for letting me advertise. Because I'm going to advertise myself today. I'm looking for a connection. I'm looking for a real, emotional, loving relationship that can help me grow personally. Be with me after a tiring day of uni work and stand by me when all I want to do is stay in bed. Now, I won't get any of you to raise your hands, not just yet, but I want you to ask yourself what you're looking for in a relationship, what you're looking for in a connection. I think it's going to be something similar. It's going to be something about wanting that meaningful connection with someone. Well, there's a reason why 5 of the top 10 TV shows in 2025 were reality TV. We're all hunting for that connection. And in this disconnected world where we are pulled apart by colours, even red, blue, yellow, turquoise, and more recently green, the rarefication of social interaction is pertinent. And reality TV to be more exact, allows us to connect in 3 distinct ways. I'm going to start with the parasocial dynamic. Parasociality is when a viewer feels as though they know a celebrity despite never having met them. When we watch reality TV shows, we often feel as though the individuals are our friends. And I felt devastated. I don't know who talked about traitors earlier, but I felt devastated when Nick betrayed the pact with Joe Marler in the Traitors final. Sorry for the spoilers, everyone. I felt absolutely devastated. And similarly, when the contestants on Great British Bake Off forget their milk, or forget to turn the oven on, that is actually gutting. You want them to do well. And I see them as friends. Point of information, go ahead. What was this? Sorry?
Have you seen it's like the Zeddy Girls episode of the Bake Off, and then for off and throws her cake, and it's just really funny.
She throws it.
She grows it.
She grows it. I'm really sorry. She grows it. Okay, that's me on a regular basis. Wow, me and ovens don't get along, so I think that was more of a self-deprecating joke than a thing about Great British Bake Off. Anyway, I see these people as friends, and before you start pitying me, I think you should all see these people as friends. Next time you watch a reality TV show, I want you to get off your high horse and imagine that the contestants are your real life friends. Oh, we've got a confirmation. Go ahead.
So, but they're not your real life friends, are they?
think of these contestants as your friends, it changes your perception of these shows and the people who go on it. When I laugh, why am I laughing? I'm laughing at them, or am I laughing with them? Are they teaching me something about social interaction? Would I be able to go through what they're experiencing? Friends personalise the show, and that's why you should see them as your friends. And don't get me wrong, a lot of reality TV is a bunch of anger, gossip, and unnecessary drama, as the opposition alluded to. But have you never felt betrayed, hurt, and angry towards your friends? I actually really want to live in some sort of utopia that the opposition seems to live in, that their friends don't betray them every second minute, and they don't bicker with their families, because that happens. And when we engage in this parasocial connection with reality TV, we inject empathy, kindness, and a problem-solving urge into the mix. We make it truly real. Reminding us that whilst these emotions are augmented by big studio lights and Big Brother house, or Tam in Love Island, they are still human. And moreover, if these are our friends, we also care about their welfare. And the opposition made the wonderful point of welfare concerns. And when we see them as our friends, we interrogate the mechanisms behind them. We interrogate the producers, we interrogate the channels, and we ask, are they ridiculing these people to make an object of entertainment? And it's these questions that rehabilitate the genre by making sure it faithfully represents the reality of interaction. It is reality TV, after all. And it does not just become about views and clicks. Beyond this, as Lara did a brilliant job of examining, we also connect with other viewers when we watch reality TV. After all, there's a reason TV accounts for half of the projected advertising growth this year. We come together around reality TV. I can't be the only one who watches these big TV moments, the trailers finale, with Twitter open on my phone, scrolling Instagram for the latest theories and insights. There's a cross-community element to it, a cross-community connection. Normal people discussing how people are trying, or failing in the trailer's instance, to act normally. Simon in Skegness is hooked on the same show as Tilda in Tamworth or Dimitri in Doncaster. We are all united. Having explored why we shouldn't look down on reality TV too much, as the opposition seems to just absolutely lay on thick about how much it corrupts our brains, I want to get back onto this motion. Because this motion is why this house would go on reality TV. For some of us, it would be to find a connection. Ultimately, people don't go on Married at First Sight thinking that they're not going to be married in the first episode. That's a feature of the reality TV show. They're signing up to find a connection. And many go into the villa in New York not to lounge around in swimwear with a microphone around their neck. No, they go to find a connection. Even in shows where connection is not the goal and money is the aim, lifelong friendships are still made. Indeed, that's why you see Daily Mail articles near weekly of what the Traitors cast has been up to on their joint road trips around the UK, and even similarly, the Bake Off cast. These are once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, and by virtue of being so bizarre and grueling, they create lasting friendships. Just watch any reunion show, and I guarantee that someone will talk about the lifelong friendships they've made on the series. Now, I want to apply this to the Edinburgh Union specifically, and take the first step into making this our very own reality TV show by saying that I've made lifelong friends here. And whilst there's no backstabbing and betrayal here, unlike the Oxford Union that have had a president, every single president since the 1960s has faced a vote of no confidence, this house embodies the best of reality TV. It's already on reality TV. Well, I'm standing here in front of a hall of viewers, all having some sort of parasocial relationship with me. We're sharing this experience together. And as I've demonstrated in this speech, that is the crux of reality TV. Go ahead.
You just promote reality. If you're on a screen, that will be reality TV.
Exactly. But this is going to be on YouTube. YouTube watch it along, and then it became reality television. I don't need to mention the decline in linear television and YouTube replacing it. So I think we can count this as our own little microcosm of reality television. Yes. Anyway, plug for the YouTube. So why not go on reality TV if we're already there? Vote for the proposition, and more importantly, connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
the Chief Executive Officer of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, who has been involved in organising arts festivals around the world, including South Africa's National Arts Festival and the UAE's Sharjah Fringe Festival. Did I get that one right? Oh, it's going to happen today. You have 10 minutes, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I thought I'd start with the definition, because that's been remarkably absent from the conversation this evening, particularly from the proposition. Reality TV, by definition, is a production that is produced for television, broadcast, or streaming that's got several distinct characteristics. Firstly, it needs to contain or pretend to contain unscripted, purportedly real-life situations. It needs to feature non-actors, and it's designed primarily for entertainment rather than information. Nowhere in there do I see anything about benefits to participants, as the proposition would have us believe. There's nothing in there about what being on reality TV will do for our prospects, or our lives, or our bodies, or our partnerships, or our singing careers. They're only about entertainment. They've got nothing to do with participants, according to the definition, and there's a real reason for that. The reason for that is reality TV has got nothing to do with providing benefits to the people taking part, and everything to do with making money for those who produce the entertainment. So, with that as the framework, I assert that this house should absolutely not participate in reality TV, and here's why. There are two reasons. Firstly, reality TV is undoubtedly TV, but it's not real. And participating in it supports the fundamental lie that underpins it. Is that a point of information? No? And that is harmful to the participants and to the viewers. Number two, we can all agree that as we have finite time on this planet and an abundance of talent out of the world, this house should expend its energies and deploy those talents to more worthwhile activities. And participating in reality TV does not meet that standard, as I'll demonstrate. It's not worthy of our time and talent. It erodes public discourse and makes the world a worse place. For reality TV to thrive and flourish, it has to create an artificial bubble that is performative and manipulative. And that is not deserving of our participation. Let's just go through those 2 points. First of all, let's not pretend that reality TV is either new or real. But in order to succeed, reality TV has to pretend that what it portrays is real. Fictional TV with the fourth wall intact is equally entertaining, and it's valuable to our discourse because it doesn't pretend anything, it doesn't pretend to be real. As viewers, we aren't required to lie to ourselves that these are our friends, or our colleagues, or our future colleagues, to enjoy those shows. We cannot see ourselves in the cast of Friends, or South Park, or Baby Radio, or the Hunger Games. We recognize the tropes, sure. We instinctively understand and respond to the narrative shorthand that those shows present, but we don't see ourselves there and imagine that we can realistically find ourselves in those situations. That's good television. Reality TV, on the other hand, has dishonesty as its underlying premise. Its success rests on the audience buying into unrealistic notion that they can see themselves on the screen, as we have witnessed this evening. That reality TV is the road to riches, to stardom, the perfect partner or body or house holiday. The conceit of reality TV is that if only this was you on the show, dear viewer, you too, and your chosen charities, can achieve all of this and enjoy rich rewards. And success can be achieved not through hard work or talent, or anything else, but by luck, or benevolent Simon Cowell, or a happy alchemy of production values, human drama, and brilliant response. It's no coincidence, as we heard this evening from my colleagues, that the production teams on reality TV replicate those on fictional TV. There's a producer, there's a storyline editor, a casting director, lighting, wardrobe, and their hidden hands intervene in the narrative, making choices in camera angle, lighting, soundbite, storyline, and it ceases to be anything approximating reality. It's just storytelling. Here's an example. If you, like me and many others here tonight, find yourselves captivated by the constructed, intriguing drama of Traitors, you also got sucked into the let's milk this thing for all it's worth extension of Traitors Uncloaked. You would have seen and heard Claudia Winkleman's brief, inadvertent lifting of the veil, her undermining of the notion that this was somehow real. Throughout the show, she repeatedly referred to the contestants, all ostensibly real people doing real things, not as contestants or participants or game players, but she kept referring to them as the cast. She wasn't wrong. It wasn't a slip of the tongue, but she didn't misspeak. Claudia doesn't do that. She was calling them what they are, a cast of people specifically chosen, not randomly, but playing into the stereotypes that they needed to create a storyline that resonated with viewers, to create tension, to play into the audience's stereotypes, to replicate those classic archetypes. They weren't chosen, they were cast, and that's not reality, that is theatre. That's okay, I hear you say, it's just entertainment, it's just fun. Where's the harm? Well, sometimes the choices that they make on the road to riches for themselves are more perverse and sinister. The Jeremy Kyle show was cancelled after a distraught participant died by suicide after being left abandoned, unsupported by the production crew. He was used by the show, spat out and left to flounder, his value fully extracted. It was the inevitable tragic outcome of a medium that exists only to pretend that the world it creates is real. The cast are cannon fodder, and producers don't have to worry about pesky unions, employee protection, safeguarding. It cannot be that participation in an entire genre of television that is premised on being dishonest and unrealistic is somehow a laudable human activity. But people somehow buy into the premise that it's all okay, and it's perfectly fine, in the same way that people buy into the notion that Donald Trump is making America great again, or that Nigel Farage should be taken seriously as a force for good and not as a bottom-feeding little weasel. It's no coincidence, by the way, that those two individuals arguably benefited from the heightened profiles they achieved in The Apprentice and I'm a Celebrity to build political capital, and look where that has gotten us. The only reason that reality TV exists and thrives is because it humiliates, belittles, exposes the vulnerable, and plays into the grubbiest tropes. It's a race to the bottom. It's why Pop Idol doesn't just show the best singers, it spends hours and hours of airtime showing those who can never succeed or hope to succeed in the profession. They are put on screen to be laughed at. We heard the example earlier about One Direction and Little Mix, and what about their fantastic careers that they could only achieve as a result of being on reality television? Well, what about all the thousands of other participants and processes in that show, the rest of the cast, who failed along the way? Is it okay that One Direction and Harry Styles built their career on the bones and ashes of people they trampled along the way? Made their own mistakes in a bit, if you get the point. That is why Big Brother's most popular feature is Shower Hour, and why the contestants are fed huge amounts of alcohol so they'll do something that they regret. They can be clipped and shared to spread that humiliation around the world as quickly as possible. Psychology Today illustrates why people watch reality TV and they say this, quote, "The cast members take risks that we are unwilling to take in our own lives. Getting drunk and making bad, potentially life-altering decisions. The idea of seeing people act against their own interests and do things, like have bathroom sex with a random person, is kind of thrilling."
Are you saying that this house would do those things? The notion is this house would go on reality TV. Would this house have room sex on TV?
What I'm saying is that this house would not seem as if they would do that. The producers would not allow them a million miles anywhere near a camera, because that's what the producers need and want in order to be a success. So the only way this house would make it onto television is if it agreed to humiliate itself to that extent. Thank you for helping me reach that point. So if it is true that the argument for participating in reality TV can only be that by doing so we're giving audiences the chance to live vicariously through the screens, to enjoy a world of escapist voyeurism and not put themselves, in harm's way. Tell that to the families of the 38 people that Dublin's FM 104 reported died by suicide after being participants in various reality TV shows globally since 1986. They took their own lives as a direct result of the intense pressure, the social media trolling, and the lack of support after the show. They were the cannon fodder in the production company's success. Tell that to the family of 32-year-old Peter Boswell who died after eating roaches in a competition to win a pet snake in a Fear Factor competition. For now, this House has agency. We've got the space to assert our moral position and make a choice aligned with our values at absolutely no cost to this House at all. We can decide not to participate, not to perpetuate the lie that reality TV would have us believe. And through that single act of defiance, we can send a signal that we won't be the kind of fodder that this industry needs to sustain itself. Others may not have that backbone, and they may not value the same things as we do, but that should never stop us from taking a stand, and that stand is clear. Because it should be abundantly clear now that not taking part is better than taking part. Our time has value, our souls have value, our potential to effect positive change in this world is endless. We should not squander any of those things in pursuit of hollow, transient, and sometimes harmful, dishonest fame that reality TV brings. The influence without substance that reality TV thrives on corrodes public discourse. That is the very antithesis of what this House stands for, as to why we are all here tonight. Participating in reality TV will sully our souls, diminish our humanity, chip away at the only world really worth living in, and make other people rich. If the production company really wanted to see money go to contestants' favourite charity, they would take the entire production budget, not make the show, and give that money to charity. But yet, they still need the spectacle, and the rounding error that is the donation at the end of the show is nothing to them. We should not become part of that lie. Don't do it.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of our debaters this evening. We will now move on to a Q&A section. So if anyone has any questions for any of our speakers, and I can see a hand up already, we will send the microphone around. This is very technical for reality TV, which you can never see behind the scenes. Fantastic. Yes.
Hello? Yeah.
As I said, very professional reality TV production.
Thank you. So my question would be to the both sides of the debate. All of you had brilliant speeches, and it was really enjoyable to listen to all of you. But what I'd like to hear is, where can we draw the line between performance and reality in reality TV? I just want to hear an answer to this question.
I think we can draw the line the same way we would draw the line in real life. You decide what you want to perform and what you want to show to people, and you also decide what is truly you, what is truly your own action and your own doing. And so it would be the exact same. Because at the end of the day, once again, behind that screen are real people and real actions. So it's to you to decide if you would ever go on reality TV.
So just a little counter to the proposition's point. Any actor that you see on screen is also a real person and doing, in fact, real things. However, directly to your point, I think realistically you can't really draw a line between performance and reality because reality TV, they film hundreds of hours of footage and the stuff that actually makes it into the episodes is extremely selective. You can even sometimes tell when they've spliced together sentences when the natural vocal cadence doesn't follow. And also, as I mentioned in my speech, people are very heavily bracketed into certain character stereotypes because it serves the arc of the story. So I think it's almost, it's not constructive to try and find reality there because it's not intended as reality. As my wonderful colleague said, it's entertainment. Thank you.
Thanks. This is for a proposition. I was just wondering.
Could I just ask you to stand up?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Right.
This is for a proposition which was also touched on by the final speaker for opposition. But how would the proposition actually define reality TV? Because I'm not sure a clear definition was reached. For example, the first speaker brought up Britain's Got Talent as reality TV. I think it might be contention as to whether this actually qualifies. So I'm just wondering maybe if there's interpersonal dynamics, maybe that's a factor. But yeah, if you had a good definition.
So I do consider British Got Talent as reality TV. I also consider any form of television that is filmed, things, and also the backstage. Anything that's like, oh, them commenting on what has just happened, or them like saying their backstory or anything should be considered as reality TV. Yeah, so all the things that you could think of in that category, the Eater, MasterChef, we mentioned Traitors, things like Keep It Up or The Kardashians, they all have that similar thing of filming the in-betweeners, the emotions that the person feels, and also how they got there and what they're going to do after.
Good for you. Put your hand up there as well. The one next to you.
So it's a question for the opposition, yeah. I think the role of the opposition is you need to convince us that any reality TV of any kind is not a good idea to go on. And there's been a lot of focus on perhaps like the most extreme reality TV with the highest stakes, such as your Love Islands and stuff like that. But if you take a show, for example, like Race Around the World by the BBC, where you have the opportunity to race other teams around the world, but perhaps build friendship or partnership with someone you take along with you. What is so inherently bad about that, or can you show me that the negatives really outweigh the positives?
Thanks. It's a fascinating question, and I think one does need to draw a distinction between television programs, which is what we focus on, that create a narrative thread or report to create a narrative thread as their central reason for being. Race Across the World and some of their game shows. They're game shows with a little bit of extra depth, where you get to know the characters a little bit more than you would on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Again, they're picking and choosing the narrative, but it doesn't mean that just because it's a friendlier show and they're not making people they're not humiliating people, although it can be argued that sometimes on that show they do, they still need drama. They still exploit fragile human relationships in order to create a storyline around which they can construct. And then the producers go home, leaving the contestants, the cast, to pick up the pieces of their lives afterwards. Sometimes it works and it's all happy, other times it may not work. So I would argue that, of course it's entertaining to watch, because you can live vicariously through them, you can see parts of the world that you wouldn't normally see. But it is still inherently harmful, and why risk it? Why have anything that is inherently harmful and say, well, maybe it will be okay? That's not a particularly strong argument.
Race Across the World is most definitely reality TV. Reality TV's core definition is unscripted media that is not a travelogue. It is not to inform, it is to entertain. And Race Across the World is fundamentally not a travelogue. You do not get a place-by-place breakdown of where they've gone, what you should go see, and things like that. It is about the humans at the centre. You see them dialoguing with local people as they traverse vast continents. What a wonderful show. But it is fundamentally reality TV. And you can't really say that it is constructed, because as the opposition have argued, that the producers are trying to paint a bad picture. Have you ever watched a Race Across the World episode where the people they've been in dialogue to have been painted badly? Really? I might sit down now. But anyway, Race Across the World is most definitely reality TV, and I'd argue so are all game shows. What's the difference between Pointless and Bake Off? What are the difference? They do that little spiel at the start of Pointless saying, oh, I'm from XYZ place, I'm playing for this reason, I want to buy a new house, this, that and the other. What's the difference? Is shorter format, shorter series, that's the only thing they can afford. Reality TV. Race Across the World definitely is.
Is there any other questions? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So there's been lots of comments that have been made on the reason that why people like to watch reality TV is because they can see themselves living through the characters. but reality TV form, you could argue, is a form of art. I'm not saying it's on par with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, but it's an art nonetheless. There's editors, producers, camera crews with carefully chosen camera angles, and that's exactly the kind of film thing you find in a film or a TV series. There's lots of different reasons to like a film or a TV series. It's not really fair to pinpoint down the reason that someone liked a film is because of this. So why are you so sure that the reason that people like reality TV is because they see themselves through the characters, and then that is why they choose to go on the show?
This debate isn't about whether or not we like reality television. It's about whether or not we should participate in reality television, regardless of whether we like it or dislike it, or like all forms or some forms. It's not about whether or not we like reality television.
I do 100% get your point, because I also get your point, but most of the first speaker's argument was more about what's bad about watching reality TV than actually what's bad about going on it. So I do 100% get, and reality TV is an art, and I believe that if we want to participate in this art, we should do it, and it shouldn't be a motion that limits us to it.
Over there earlier. Yes.
In an increasingly digital age, obviously everything we see on social media is so fabricated, and I live in fear of those people on the street coming on and asking me questions and putting in their Instagram reels. But if that's what we're already living in, if that is our reality, why wouldn't we go and have the opportunity to get paid or to find love, if that's worth it? If this is already going to start infiltrating our everyday and everything we consume, our reality is already being altered, we're already a subject of reality TV, so why wouldn't we go and maybe get paid, maybe get that connection that you're talking about?
I think with reality TV, and it becomes so important part of our lives, and there's an even more emphasis in trying to sort of protect ourselves from the vulnerability of it in terms of the manipulation of it, and these are using extreme examples like all the love shows, and maybe even like the makeover shows as they call them. And I think it is important the argument to not go into them is to protect your sort of, as I've said, like your image and your things and stuff like that. So it's hard information.
Your image has already been sold to the capitalist elites. Meta knows everything about you. They have where you've been, they've had what you where you shopped last Tuesday. They'll be able to predict something you won't even be able to predict a year down the line. So why not get monetized from it? Everyone already knows what you're about to do. Like, it takes one click of the button, one search in the dark web for you to find all your personal data. So why not go on reality TV and flaunt it? You might not be able to control your image, but you can't control what they know about you as well.
The hand slightly further back. I'm sorry, not the one that just jumped up, the one behind. But we'll go for you next. Oh.
Hi, this is a question for the proposition. I was watching America's Next Top Model, and there was a contestant who really stood out to me because whilst they were all young in this show, and I think this season they pick really young actresses to try and shape their opinions, like kind of to make them influenceable, whereas this actress really shows that stood out because she was like a few years older and clearly very educated on and just very self-aware of who she was and how she wants to present. So I love talking about the agency of all of this editing and heavy manipulation that can happen. Like competitors and participants can choose what they share. Do you believe that reality TV shows would be improved if every contestant had training in, like an officialized process of public perception and staying confident in who you are and not losing yourself through the process? Or do you think that would remove the fun and spontaneity of reality TV if they all got this basic training?
would defeat the purpose of reality TV being a reality, being a depiction of lots of different people, with lots of different lifestyles, lots of different experiences, lots of different education levels. So I think it would, from the perspective of someone applying to become a contestant, it's absolutely necessary to have basic training in how to respond to situations and how to take care of yourself before and after being a contestant. But the extent of which I think depends on the type of show, because too much and it would unify people in their responses, there would be no difference, no unique perspectives. So I think my answer is it depends on the type of show and depends on the context.
Hire actors, write a script.
I sort of have quite a similar question to yours, but specifically towards Tony. You've talked a lot about how there's a lack of support for people who go on reality TV mental health lines, which can have awful outcomes, and I agree with you there. But do you think that you would be more sympathetic to the idea of going reality TV if you knew that there were urgent mental health support systems in place? And obviously this is just coming off the top of my head, but something like a sort of psychological evaluation before you go on to make sure you're not kind of specifically affected by anything that might happen, and then continuing to support after the show, so you're guaranteed to be able to speak to mental health professional if you needed it.
Your question is, in that scenario, would I be more comfortable going around on TV? The answer is possibly, but that's not the motion in front of the house tonight. It's not, the motion is not, we should go on reality TV when they sort their shit out. It's we should go on reality TV as it is now, as it is today. So that's the perspective that we need to go from. Yes, it needs to clean up its act. Yes, it needs to get better, and maybe we can consider it when that happens. But it ain't gonna happen, because by cleaning it up in the way that you suggest, it rips out the very thing that producers need in order to get their eyeballs, to get people into the room, to what they need that tension. They need people to hate each other, to fight with each other, to scratch each other's eyes out as they're trying to go after the buff billionaire. That's what they need in order to create that narrative drama. So they will probably never put a layer of sensibility over it in the way that you describe.
Can I should ask something that's okay? I think we already sort of have that in a way, or at least the way people explores it. I get where you're coming from in terms of the next value you see things going on before the during the show, but after the show, everything's already filmed. There is no, it will not affect the extreme value of the show because it's already filmed, it's already theirs.
The storyline hasn't been constructed yet. So the storyline is often crafted in post-production, and that's where they seem to do the most damage. At that stage, the cast members have left. They've gone on with their ordinary lives, and the producers are able to create whatever they want without fearing anything. These shows are not like this. There's a reason why Survivor, but also Traitors is filmed months in advance, to give them time to craft that kind of narrative. It's entertaining to watch, but it's only entertaining to watch because it is so exploited.
Hello, I've got a question for the House. On your topic on parasocial relationships, what are your thoughts on the dangers of pushing these relationships too far, of encouraging viewers to develop too much of a perception in their heads of these people that is so divorced from their reality, especially when these shows tend to target an audience that is not only willing to blur the line between reality and fiction, but is sometimes incapable of differentiating the two, especially when historically this has led to some cases of reality stars, celebrities, or idols being victims of violence or aggression from people who feel that this divorced reality is a betrayal.
I think that parasocial relationships in and of themselves need to be treated in a healthy way. We need to be able to extract things from these parasocial relationships. That means, as you said, divorcing the individual from what happened in that situation. Because as the opposition have brilliantly articulated, these reality TV shows are closed environments. They are completely divorced from the rest of the world, and they're put in such a pressure cooker that their image will be different. But my question to you, actually, I'm going to ask the question back, is does this not exist in the real world? Does this not exist on social media? We have influencers that day in, day out portray an image of themselves that is not faithful. We have Photoshop, we have other sorts of manipulation software. So, can't we say that about the same thing? That we can have these unhealthy parasocial relationships outside of reality TV? And if we think of reality TV like it, as if it was our friends, we can extract the good social interactions out of it. And that's what we should focus on. And I guess that might be some idealistic concept for many of you. But we must see it in that way because, where am I going with this? Because fundamentally, the reality we live in is not a reality. It is what other people are performing into. And they're performing here, right now, amongst us, and they're performing on television the same way. So what is reality? That's my question back to you. Broad, I know.
I used to avoid the debate between the audience. I think if I could just push that question towards the opposition.
So, you sort of started talking about social media and stuff like that, and sort of saying, you know, the connection you have with it. But again, it's like reality TV. We are laughing at them, we're not laughing with them. It creates, you know, it's a whole discussion that's already being brought up. We're creating fake relationships, experiencing fake emotions, and you know, our lives are really that boring that we have to create connections through a fake form of reality. Like, are we not able to enjoy the connections that we have in this room, having a conversation directly with one another? So, yeah.
We are running out of time, so what we will do is, I think we'll go for the lady at the very back.
So you claim that reality TV is a fictive creation that's put together with the aims of the producers, but is it not worthy to be a part of something that provides a good net of life? Perhaps it's not 100% real, but any portrayal of life will forever lack objective truth, as objective truth is fundamentally unknowable. The first example that comes to mind is Real Housewives, which though absolutely dramatizes the lives of these women, was one of the first pieces of contemporary media to forefront the lives of domestic women that would not the breadwinners of their households. These projects can have tangible social meaning and impact, and so would being a part of it not be worthy some of the potential drawbacks?
The argument that you make seems to rest on some of it is real and useful, therefore we should do it and ignore the bits that are harmful. I would argue that, I think you said not 100% of it is real, I would argue that not 1% of it is real. And that for me is a red flag. I think there are so many better ways, so many better platforms, so many other ways to influence change, to change the world that are available to us that we should be using. You speak about social media, for example. The big difference between what an influencer does on social media and what a character does on the cast of a reality TV show is that the influencer on social media gets to decide what is published. They construct the message. They talk to the editors, they make it live, they publish it, and they do so because it helps them, however they design it, or it helps whatever cause it is they're trying to support. That's a far more useful way of spending time and energy than handing your image over to someone else to manipulate, to craft, for them to take ownership and to take agency of your storyline, and to exploit you in a way that suits their ends and it's got nothing to do with what's good in it for you. Even if that happens positively 1% of the time, the fact that it still happens badly 99% of the time is enough reason not to do it.
I think on the social media point, again, it's The issue is the fact that they're crafting this image, because that's pushing the danger, not from the person who's signed on to be on the reality TV show or who has the social media platform. It's pushing it onto the audience, because the audience is seeing a crafted image of that person. So that's much more dangerous, because they can put that image out there. When you add another layer, the producers, I'm not defending the producers, but just for sake of argument, another layer of the producers, the issue is that with that one individual. This might sound a bit utilitarian, I know, but the issue is with that one individual, rather than with the masses who are watching. And when it's social media, when that individual has agency, has control over their own image to the proper extent that they can manipulate it and the like, that's with the masses at that point.
Thank you so much for all the questions. I will now ask that we go to summation speeches. So if I could ask the first speaker for the opposition, Beatrice Fuchs, to present the summation speech. It needs to be no longer than 3 minutes and can be even shorter than that.
In my summation, I will address some of the key points that the opposition brought up. So, the first point was that it presents opportunities for exposure, wealth, and fame. Well, they just exploit those producers because, sorry, what the hell did I write down here? They're exploiting those that have never had experience in these industries. They are, as we've identified, they are not trained actors, and they are essentially very hungry for fame, and really has nothing to benefit with the participants. Another point that was brought up is that these performers, as we call them on these shows, are real-life people to avoid gatekeeping. As my colleague had said, these shows are highly controlled, and each clip that's filmed from the footage is snipped into a particular area to be able to create a goal of friction through the sort of different characters that are sort of essentially cast to kind of create this reality show. I think also the third point that has slightly been addressed, but representation, it is so important, I think, in our one-day world to have the representation of all these different forms of identity, but as it's been addressed, this is not the best form. It really kind of creates a question, is reality TV becoming our new form of news about issues on identity and minorities? I kind of question that slightly. And then with the idea of reality TV's questioning our behaviours, well, it's good to question how we act as human beings, but if we're questioning our actions based on the stimulus of reality TV, then we can start adopting potentially harmful characteristics that are presented in these melodramatic shows. And then, I've also brought up again, my point is sort of that it is so paradoxical, fake emotions, fake relations, and it's a separation of the former and vulture. Thanks so much.
And now, Tara, if you would like a summation speech for the proposition.
So first I would like to start off by saying that your point by mentioning Kant and Shakespeare, Immanuel Kant would have 100% gone on reality TV and Shakespeare would have directed it. Also, we are debating about reality TV. I think it's a bit arrogant to cite them, and I think this exaggeration quite represents all the arguments you've made, because they are judgy and quite condescending, because they are judging people who decide for themselves. Because the motion is, would you go on reality TV? Would you make that decision for yourself? And we haven't really countered any of the arguments that it does give social mobility. It is also a good way to make money and have opportunities for your talents. It allowed people to give to charity. It allowed people to make friends. And I think these are things that were not really countered clearly. Also, Nikita, you mentioned the idea of the unscripted. Everyone here tonight read off a speech, and there's no shame to that. Also, to answer your question, you were like, would you go on a debate on a reality TV if it was a bad debate? We wouldn't, maybe they would. fun, 2, you want to be rich, you want a house like Colton, you like charity and you would like to donate some of the money that you make from that, you want friends, you are talented and want a platform for it, and also if you like One Direction, because I'm sorry Tony, One Direction is one of the best things reality TV has given to this world. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of our speakers. As Tara has provided a beautiful segue, here at the Edinburgh Union we vote with our feet. So, if you would like to vote for the proposition, please exit through that door. If you would like to vote for the opposition, please exit through that door. We will also be having a social at Cotton Road. We hope you will join us for a quick drink, and that is where the results of the vote will be announced. Also, in 2 weeks' time, we have our second to last debate, and our last debate here in Wayne Hall. It is going to be on "This House has no confidence in NATO" to address modern security challenges. I encourage you all to sign up, and I encourage you all to sign up to speak. Once again, thank you so much to our speakers, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.